everyone, so I have Miss Winona here with me today, and by popular vote she has her little blue headband on with the onesie and the booties. The pants looked really cute with the outfit too, but it was just so hot outside that I was like, that's not gonna work. So I did the booties instead, and she looks fantastic and everything. And today we're going to be changing both Winona and Miles, and I'll explain the reason for that in just a few minutes. But I will show you what we're going to change Winona in. It's this really pretty sort of summery dress. It's by Mad Sky. And then I'm either going to leave her in this bow because this dress has blue in it, or if I like the pink one better, we might do that one. I'm not completely sure. Either one I think will work. But we will see. So today the topic is taking a break from Reborns. And I'm sure a lot of you guys out there have kind of experienced this, but some of the new collectors out there haven't. So I'm kind of gonna start the topic off by explaining why a lot of people do take breaks from the hobby and why it might actually be a good thing instead of a bad thing, because a lot of people are like, oh, if you're going to take a break, you're just going to leave. But that's not always necessarily true. And then while I change Miles, I'm kind of going to get into my own personal story about sort of taking breaks in this hobby. So kind of while I'm changing her, I hope that you guys enjoy the topic, and I hope that you guys put something in the comments about kind of your experience with it, because I feel like everyone experiences this hobby different, so it's good to hear different viewpoints. So anyway, why do people generally take breaks in this hobby? I feel like for me, one of the absolute biggest ones is kind of like having a shift in interests. So Reborns are not my only hobby. I really enjoy music, I really enjoy art, I really enjoy kind of doing outdoor activities like hiking and fishing and things like that. So sometimes I feel like, I'll start to get really excited and into another one of my hobbies. This happens a lot for me in the summertime because I'm just so busy with, the short period of time where I can do those outdoor activities. You definitely can't go hiking where I live in the mountains in winter, so you have to do it, while it's still nice outside. So I spend so much time doing that, and then you don't really get a whole lot of Reborn time. I feel like this happens a lot with people who are very young in the hobby. I know a lot of my friends when I first started were teenagers, and they're not in the hobby anymore because, they got older and started getting more interested in hanging out with friends and other things like that, and kind of dropped the hobby a little bit. So it just happens. Another thing that I feel like really gets me especially, which I kind of talked about a little bit in my last video, is just things get busy sometimes, and of course Reborns are a lot of fun and they help with your stress and everything, but it's not always a priority, so sometimes you have to take care of the real life stuff. Sometimes you have to get a second job, you have to spend extra time with your kids because now they're not going to school, or there's just so many different things, how your life can get more busy and how Reborns are kind of pushed to the back burner. And as I said in the last video, I feel like I'm kind of just always taking on more opportunities and everything, which is great, but then it's kind of hard to rebalance your lifestyle after you take on, something else. So that can definitely be a huge factor for people. And then I haven't really experienced this too much, but I've heard a lot of people who have, and that is something negative will happen to them in the hobby, and they just need to take a breather for it and kind of heal from that experience before they get back into it again, because it can leave a really bad taste in your mouth if someone is bullying you or being extremely disrespectful or causing a lot of drama, and sometimes that causes stress, just things in the community, and it carries over to your own personal time with your dolls. I think this has only happened to me once where I just felt like very overwhelmed with what was going on in the community, and I was like, I need to just like take a breather, take a few days away from this hobby, and come back feeling a little bit more refreshed. So as I kind of mentioned in the beginning, you know, sometimes a break can lead to fully getting out of the hobby, but that's not always the case. I feel like if you're in a hobby for a long time, you kind of have like ups and downs where you're super, super interested, and then it kind of takes a nosedive because of one reason or another. And then something re-sparks it, and then you're just so incredibly excited and happy to be back. So I think it's very healthy to take breaks. Like if you were just like into the Reborns for like, you know, 5 years straight, and you know, you didn't even take like a small little break, even if it's just like a, you know, couple weeks away from the hobby, I feel like that would just be exhausting. Sometimes, you know, even though this hobby is so much fun, you just need a little time away, and that is okay. So you don't have to like feel guilty and be like, oh, like what if I don't come back to the hobby? Well, if you love it enough, you definitely will. So you shouldn't have to worry too much about that. And, you know, if you don't come back, then you probably have something else occupying your life that brings you a lot of joy and happiness, hopefully. So I feel like, you know, taking a break can kind of give you like a clean slate, because I notice, especially for me, and we're about to get into this in just a minute, so I'll be brief on this, but I notice that like for me, if I do something for too long, I'm not excited about it anymore. And so with art especially, like I can get a new pencil set and I'll do so many different things with the pencils, and then I'll just get sick of it and it'll kind of go away for a while, and then I'll be like, ooh, I really love markers, and I'll get a whole new set of markers. And so it kind of happens that way, where sometimes you need a break to reignite that flame. But now let's get into my story, which is pretty much that in a nutshell, and let's go get Miles. So here is Mr. Miles. As you can tell, he is super chunky in comparison to Winona. I feel like Winona looked tiny in here, and then Miles is just like taking up the whole area. But anyway, I'm going to change him into this little romper thing, and it has a cute little elephant on it that's eating peanuts, and there's some ducks too. There's kind of a lot going on here. But anyway, I wanted to tell you guys about the biggest break that I've ever taken from Reborns, and how did I start to get back into it. So it's kind of hard to like tell like an exact like cutoff. It's just like, oh, right here I completely lost my interest. Like it's not really like that. So my interest kind of slowly started like tapering away when me and my family were kind of going through some struggles. I won't get like super into it, but my mom and my stepdad were starting to get a divorce, and that can just really put a strain on the family unit as a whole, as I'm sure a lot of you have also experienced. And I just felt like I needed a lot of extra sort of emotional support and kind of spilling out my ideas in a more creative way, and Reborns just weren't doing it for me. So I feel like during that time I started to sort of spend more time with friends, and I started getting into art way more. I think at that point in time I decided to take 2 art classes at once, which I don't even think you're supposed to do. But anyway, so I started getting like super into art, and like really being able to sort of express my emotions in different ways, and kind of having that, even though I didn't really want to talk about it with friends, you know, having them there and doing activities with them and everything like that. I think it just really helps you get through tough times, especially if you have a supportive friend group. So that's kind of like where I started, you know, going off in another direction, and then I got back in it for a very short period of time, and then I got my first boyfriend, that serious boyfriend. I had boyfriends before that, but you know, the very first serious one. And you know, then I was typical high school student, all into my first boyfriend, wanting to do activities with him and things like that. And so I feel like it just really slowed down my interaction with the dolls. And then shortly after all of that, I started going to college, and that was like a sort of intense experience, I'm sure, for everyone, you know, like it's just a huge culture shock because, you know, before your classes are kind of chosen for you, and you don't have nearly as much homework, and it's a little bit more different making friends. There's a lot of different types of people there. It's not just like, oh, I live in this small town. Oh, so do I, you know? So it's like, it was something completely different. And so I started to kind of, you know, throw myself into all of that. I was taking, oh gosh, I forgot how many credits, and like both my counselor and the guy that was helping me like set up my credits was like, oh, that's a terrible idea. You're gonna drop out of at least one of these. And then I was like determined not to. I was like, oh hell no, I am going to get through this. And I did. I got straight A's. So just saying, I'm not like an motivational speaker or anything, but you know, you can do anything you put your mind to. So anyway, that's just, I got super duper busy. And I had little to no time for the dolls. And then things started slowing down a little bit. I decided to change the trajectory of my career. And so while I was figuring that out, I was taking a lot less classes, and I started to realize that I really needed a hobby. I got really bored. I even took on like a second job because I was like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do with all this free time? And so I was like, you know what? I really want to get back into this. And it was kind of weird getting back into it because it didn't really feel the same as, you know, it does when you first start the hobby. Like, it's not the same amount of like wonder and fascination as when you like get your first doll and everything, but it still felt like very exciting. Like I, you know, was planning to change the nursery and make huge changes to my collection, huge changes to my doll's clothing and everything like that. And so it was like a whole new experience, and I really threw myself back into it. And since then, I feel like I have been doing pretty good about staying relatively active in the community. I'm not super great about taking photos on Instagram as I used to be, which I'm kind of bummed out about that because I used to really enjoy that, and now I just feel like it takes so much time, and I'm not like as excited about it as I used to be. So that like break, even though I was still like sort of in the Reborn hobby, still active on my Instagram and everything like that, I just strayed away from it for, you know, a good amount of years, probably like 2-ish, probably a little bit less than that. It was probably like a year and a half. But anyway, so, you know, I feel like if you are sort of meant to come back to it, you will, and it's okay to take the break if you need to, because, you know, I feel like over time things just happen, and your brain sort of knows like where to lead you, and like you'll get there eventually, sort of a thing. I know that sounds weird, but yeah, anyway, I guess we will just finish up changing this guy. I don't know why this is having such a hard time. But yeah, I feel like there's always something new in this hobby. There's always going to be new artists, new collectors, new fashion styles. Like when I first started in the community, the fashion style was very much like bright colors and ruffly and cutesy, and now it's gone like the complete opposite direction. Like everyone, you know, everyone's Instagram is like natural baby and everything, or organic baby, and it's just like, this is just so different. It's funny to see. If you're in the community for long enough, you get to see all these like weird trends, or like, you know, for a while, like everyone wanted like comby hair, or you know, there's just like little silly things that you'll see And even like things like that can definitely bring you back into the hobby, because you're like, oh wow, I love that new style of clothing, I love that new style of hair, that person's nursery looks amazing. Just things like that. So yeah, he looks so cute. This is kind of big on him, but it's gonna make him so snuggly. I'm so happy. But the reason why I changed both of them today was because I kind of took like a mini break. I started back in classes and just have had a lot to do lately. So, but I am back and I hope to make more videos soon. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and thank you for watching. All right, bye.